In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and merciful, I welcome you all in today's session. Today we are going to talk about benefits and services. So first of all, let's see how do we define benefits in context of human resource management. Benefits are indirect financial and non-financial payments employees receive for continuing their employment with the company. There are different types of benefits available. So if we look at the employee benefit plans, it may include supplemental pay, which means sick leave and vacation pay. It may include insurance related to workers' compensation. We may talk about retirement schemes, which includes pension, provident fund, gratuity. And it can also be employee services such as childcare facilities. Now, starting from the basic definition of compensation, it says that compensation is the total remuneration in cash or in kind payable by an enterprise to an employee in return for work done by the latter during the accounting period. And from this definition, we would be clear between the difference of benefits and compensation, because compensation is given according to the work performed, whereas benefits are given to accommodate your stay in the organization. So benefits are over and above the compensation. Now, the compensation can further be categorized into intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. As it says that intrinsic and extrinsic rewards employees receive to perform their jobs. And the intrinsic rewards would mean employees' critical psychological states that result from performing their jobs. And extrinsic compensation represents both the monetary and non-monetary rewards. So now let us look at what are the factors related to critical psychological states of human beings when they are performing particular jobs, which would be taken up as intrinsic compensation. And to discuss that, we have a model just in front of you, which is known as job characteristic model, JCM. The job characteristic model is having 5 core job dimensions, and those 4 core job dimensions are skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. Skill variety would mean that how many types of skills you have to perform particular set of jobs. And we are mostly concerned with the job related skills. The task identity would mean that from the start till end, you perform all the job aspects. Task significance would mean that how important is your job duty. The autonomy would mean that you have the decision-making power, empowerment. Your job is vertically loaded, or you are given the delegation of authority related to the job you're going to perform. And feedback would obviously be given once the job is done, and you will be informed about your progress. So when these 5 core job dimensions are incorporated in your job in terms of the skills required to perform the job, the association with the job, the importance related with the job. When these core job dimensions are incorporated, they will be triggering the critical psychological states. And the critical psychological states are three. Number one, experience meaningfulness of the work, which would develop from skill variety, task identity, and task significance. Then there is experienced responsibility for outcomes of the work, which is associated with the autonomy, the empowerment, delegation of authority, and knowledge of the actual results of the work activities, which is linked with the feedback. So when these three critical psychological states are developed, that you have meaningfulness of the work, you feel responsibility, and you are aware about the results, they would result into personal and work outcomes. And personal and work outcomes are high internal work motivation, high quality work performance, high satisfaction with the work, low absenteeism, and turnover. These are the personal and work outcomes desired by not only the organization, but obviously by the employee, him or herself as well. And these personal and work outcomes would be in association with employee growth need strength. And through employee growth need strength, we reach back to developing further our skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. And this loop continues, and the person performs according to the prescribed standards in the organization with efficiency and effectiveness. Now, if we want to calculate motivating potential score, abbreviated as MPS, its formula can be that MPS is equal to skill variety plus task identity plus task significance divided by 3. We take the average of these values into autonomy and feedback. Now, this equation confirms us that in overall motivating potential score, the major contribution is coming from the autonomy and the feedback, because they are having the multiplier effect as compared to the other 3 components of JCM, which are skill variety, task identity, and task significance. We are taking the average of these 3. So which means that in a particular job, the most important things are the feedback associated, related with the job, and the autonomy, decision-making power present in a job. Now, people who work on jobs with high core dimensions are generally more motivated, satisfied, and productive. And whenever we are designing job description documents, whenever we are designing the job in terms of workers, environment, and the tasks, we should be bearing in mind that we need to incorporate these factors as much as we can in our overall human context. So I repeat again that people who work on jobs with high core dimensions are generally more motivated, satisfied, and productive. And job dimensions operate through the psychological states, as we just mentioned in the previous slide, in influencing people and work outcome variables rather than influencing them directly. So basically, these 5 factors, they create the environment in which the desirable psychological states can be developed. And eventually, we'll be finding the desired outcomes when people would be working with job engagement, job involvement, job satisfaction. Now, once the people are working in the organization, as we said that their intrinsic compensation, intrinsic motivation is linked with meaningfulness of work, which is related with skill, variety, task identity, task significance, the responsibility, which is linked with autonomy and empowerment, and the feedback, which is performance recognition, appraisal, and appreciation of job. We also need to come up with the extrinsic factors as well. And the extrinsic factors can be categorized in three aspects. We can talk about core compensation, which can be the wage, incentives, overtime, pay for performance. It can be legal benefits, for example, Social Security, employee old age benefit institution, which is providing employee old age benefit compensation and incentives. Then provident fund and gratuity, insurance, time off payments, workers welfare fund, workers provident fund, workman compensation, canteen facility, fair price shop. These are all and many more related with the legal benefits. And then there can be other benefits, which may include health insurance, transportation, subsidized meals, children education, retirement plans, accommodation, home loans, Hajj Umrah facility, mobile facility, tours, hotel stay. So these are all the discounted benefits available for the employees. And a combination of these intrinsic and extrinsic compensation factors that would result in the total compensation plan, which would be given to the employees for their satisfaction, motivation, involvement, so that organization can eventually achieve its defined goals, targets, and objectives. Now, in this list, there are two important terms which are highlighted. One is gratuity, which means that gratuity is one of the three prevalent retirement benefits in the private sector employment. The other two are the pension, which is basically derived from approved pension funds, and provident fund, but when we talk about gratuity, it is a lump sum amount of money payable to a worker on leaving service through retirement or death or termination of service based on salary, highest or the final salary, and period of service over the above 6 months. Whereas when we talk about provident fund, it is the lump sum payment the employees receive at the time of retirement, for which both employer and employee take the contribution. These terms can have other forms as well. For example, it can be also known as superannuation, which is again contributed by the employee and the employer, and which would be given to the employee at the end or the termination of the services within an organization. So we have to bear in mind that all the employees working in an organization should have the appropriate level of intrinsic and extrinsic compensation for smooth working and to accomplish the organizational objectives. Now, comparing again the compensation and rewards, Compensation is something such as money given or received as payment or reparation as for a service or loss, or it can also be defined as money received in the performance of work plus the many kinds of benefits and services that organizations provide to their employees. Whereas when we talk about rewards, the reward means something given or received in recompense for worthy behavior or in retribution for evil acts. And the rewards can also be defined as reward or incentive means anything that attracts an employee's attention and stimulates him to work, and which is not directly with the amount of work performed. If we look at the private sector employer compensation costs, we'll find that the major cost structure is linked with the wages and salaries, which is like 72.1%, whereas the other benefits, in addition to wages and salaries, would also cost a significant amount, and which may include legally required benefits, which I was telling you in the previous slides, which may accumulate to 8.5%, the insurance 6.9%, paid leave 6.5%, retirement and savings 3%, supplemental pay 2.8%. So these are all the employer compensation costs in addition to the wages and salaries. Now, let's start our topic related to types of employee benefits. The further list we have may include pay for time not worked. And as I told you, that benefit is not related with the amount of work performed. It can be insurance benefit, as we have talked earlier, retirement benefits, as we talked earlier, services. Now, there are certain issues in developing benefit plans. The first issue can be that the benefits, what benefits are to be offered. So we have to be very much careful that every person is having different set of needs. So we'll be developing a concept known as flexible benefit plans. And those flexible benefit plans could be tailored as per the needs of the people working for an organization. And we'll be covering that topic in a while. So the first issue is what benefits are to be offered. The second issue can be the coverage of retirees in the plan. The third issue can be denial of benefits to employees during initial probationary periods, because generally speaking, during the probation, the employees are only offered their related wage and salary, and the other benefits would be given once the job would become permanent and the person has successfully completed the probationary period. So we need to see what are those benefits and how we are going to offer those benefits to the employees. That is a big issue. Then you also need to know from where would you get the financing of benefits, because obviously that is your cost. Another issue related with the development of benefit plans is that the benefit choice to give employees. So what are the benefit choices? What are the offers you have given? Then you also need to focus upon cost containment procedures to use, that those benefits should not be unnecessarily increasing your cost. And obviously you have to communicate the benefits options to the employees so that they could know that what are the prospective outcomes they can receive when they are working in that particular organization. Now, when we talk about pay for time not worked, it may also include unemployment insurance, which means that provides for benefits if a person is unable to work through no fault of his or her own. Second point is that payroll tax on employers that is determined by an employer's rate of personal terminations, because that tax would be eventually given to the people in terms of unemployment insurance. There are many parts of the world which offer these type of insurances. And then there can be the association of tax, which is collected and administered by the state. And obviously the tax collection would be reverted back to the benefits associated with the people. Then pay for time not worked would also include vacations and holidays. And we have to see that how many number of paid vacation days varies by employer they are being offered. And number of holidays varies by employer. Obviously, every industry and every sector and every state or country, they have got their own rules and regulations. And then we also need to focus upon the premium pay for work on holidays, that if somebody is still working, even if it is announced holiday, so what can be the compensation for those people? In association with the pay for time not worked, we would also be counting sick leave, which means provides pay to an employee when he or she is out of work because of illness. And we also need to focus, there are certain costs for misuse of sick leaves, that it is not actually the requirement of the person to go on the sick leave, but many people just avail this opportunity by becoming or announcing themselves sick. Then there is another concept known as severance pay, and it would mean a one-time payment when terminating an employee. And the reasons for granting severance pay would be, number one, acts as a humanitarian gesture and good public relations. Number two, mirrors employees' 2-week quit notice. Number three, avoids litigation from disgruntled former employees. And another reason for granting severance pay would be reassures employees who stay on after the employer downsizes its workforce of employers' good intentions, that even if one is leaving the organization, the employer is still taking good care for his or her concerns even after the employment. Now, once we talk about insurance benefits, the major issues would be linked with workers' compensation in terms of that it provides income and medical benefits to work-related accident victims or their dependents, regardless of fault. It may include death or disability, and in case of, God forbid, death or disability, a cash benefit based on earnings per week of employment can be calculated. The organizations may have a different formula to calculate these cash benefits. And in terms of specific loss injuries. So statutory list of losses would be compensated. So when we talk about controlling worker compensation costs, remember that we have to screen out accident prone workers, make the workplace safer. We have to focus on thoroughly investigating accident claims. And we also need to know the use case management to return injured employees to work as soon as possible. In terms of insurance benefits, hospitalization, health, and disability insurance would also be counted. It provides for loss of income protection and group rate coverage of basic and major medical expenses for off-the-job accidents and illnesses, and accidental death and dismemberment would be a part of it, and disability insurance would also be given. There is another concept in association with insurances and other benefits provided by the organization, which is known as family-friendly benefits. And some of the family-friendly benefits are presented in the slide. For example, it can be on-site or subsidized childcare. It can be elder care. It can be fitness and medical facilities, food services, flexible work scheduling, telecommuting. It can be educational subsidies. It can be sabbaticals. The leaves which are once accumulated can be given to the employees in total. It can also be linked with loan programs for home office equipment, stock options, trauma counseling. So there can be many other family-friendly benefits offered to the employees for their motivation and satisfaction, which would eventually call their involvement and engagement with the organization and perceived organizational support as well. Then there is a list related to executive perquisites, and executive perquisites would include management loans, financial counseling, relocation benefits, sabbaticals, severance pay, company cars, security systems, executive dining rooms, physical fitness programs, legal services, tax assistance, expense accounts, club memberships, season tickets, credit cards, children's education. So there is a long list of benefits offered to the executives. Now, let's talk about flexible benefits. Employees tailor their benefit programs to meet their personal needs by picking and choosing from a menu of benefit options. And they may include modular plans, which means pre-designed benefits packaged for a specific group of employees. We offer different packages to different employees. Just like we have mobile data packages, and people can choose according to their need which data package is fulfilling their requirements. Just like that, in modular plans, we have pre-designed benefit packages. As I was telling you the list, showing you the list of the benefits. So out of those lists, you can make combinations and offer to the employees. Another can be core plus plans, which means a core of essential benefits and a menu-like selection of other benefit options, in which core plans are offered to all And then in addition to those core plans, you can have your own selections. And then there can be flexible spending plans, which allow employees to use their tax-free benefit amounts to purchase benefits and pay service premiums. So these can be the different options available to the employees to tailor their benefit programs to meet their personal need by picking and choosing from a menu of benefit options. We can also talk about flexible work arrangements. And in flexible work arrangements, the most important aspect is flex time, which means a plan whereby employees' work days are built around a core of midday hours when all workers are required to be present. The workers can arrange their own starting and stopping hours before and after the core period. And in association with this factor, positive effects on employee productivity would be the result. Job satisfaction would be the result. Satisfaction with work schedule would be the result. And there would be lesser employee absenteeism. And positive effect on absenteeism was much greater than on productivity. In relation with flex time, we can also talk about compressed work weeks. And the compressed work weeks would be there to increase productivity, as there would be less disruption from shift changes. Longer time of work periods can be availed. Reduced absenteeism, again, is the result. And we can also develop the schedule related with longer work days or fewer work days. For example, there can be 4-day work weeks with 4 10-hour days. So eventually, when we talk about 4 10-hour days, it would be ending up into the overall same number of hours, which we can have after 8 hours day work or 8 hours day shift, and when working for 5 days. So rather than 5 days, you work for 4 days, but the shift would be for 10 hours. Another combination can be 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days, then 2 days off, or 2 days on, and so forth. So different combinations can be arranged, managed, so that there should be reduced absenteeism, improved productivity and satisfaction and involvement and engagement, and for higher levels of motivation. Then there can also be 3 12-hour shifts and then off for next 4 days. That is another combination we can make. So other flexible work arrangements can be job sharing, which means allowing 2 or more people to share a single full-time job. It can be work sharing, which means a temporary reduction in work hours by a group of employees during economic downturn as a way to prevent layoffs. And there can also be telecommuting, which means that employees work at home using telephones and the internet to transmit letters, data, and completed work to the home office. And obviously, it will be based upon the nature of job, which can be performed through internet connections. So that concludes our first session. I'm sending you the second link. Hurry up to join.